Hello everyone! Thanks for joining. This is Jennifer from Personal Power Life Coaching. I hope that you're doing very well. Today's video is on the topic of weight loss. So focusing on health and wellness, specifically on the topic of weight loss, because that is a seemingly very relevant and universal concept that affects many people, men and women around the world. And I've recently been coming across that question in my environment. So the things that have helped me over the years, and I have been through my own journey where I used to be a lot heavier, and I started this experience of changing towards the better approximately 6 years ago when I was in Dubai, and I began weightlifting as my way of getting healthier, as being more physically fit, building some muscle mass, because muscle mass burns more calories at rest. So this is a really deep topic that has loads of sides and angles, and so I could go on talking. It could be a full day's discussion, but for the purposes of a concise and helpful video that many people can relate to and actually enjoy, I'm going to share what's helped me over the years. The number one thing has been keeping track of the calories that I'm consuming. Basically, it depends on how much energy you're taking in, which calories are energy units. So the energy in food corresponds to caloric value on a daily basis. So depending on how much you're taking in, if you're not burning that and you're actually storing excess calories, that can accumulate as fat and added weight in your body. So I would first suggest that if you need to reduce your weight for health reasons, or you need to get yourself in a healthier place, in a healthy place, then take a look at what you're eating on a daily basis. Maybe keep track of the food that you're having in terms of what it is and how much you have on a daily basis for 7 days, 5 or 7 days. And then you can go online and determine what are the calories corresponding to the foods and amounts that you're eating. And by the end of each day and the end of each week, you'll know how many calories you're taking in, and you can have a better sense of whether it's sufficient for your activity levels and your height and your age, or if you need to modify that. And you will also need to calculate your total daily energy expenditure, which is just with you at rest, not with you doing any extra exercise. So that's whatever your body burns in a rest state. And then whatever activity you do in addition to that would be added calories that you burn. So take a look at what you're eating. Tracking my food over the years has really been instrumental and helpful to understand where my energy is going, how I'm using that. And also, it's not about having all carbs or low carb or too much. It's all about calories in my experience, because you can actually have like loads of carbs as long as they're the right carbs and within a certain caloric range. You could lose weight actually. Similarly, if you're doing protein, if you're doing high protein and you're having animal products, then it's, again, look at your calories, and also not just calories, but the quality of nutrients you're having. Because if you're having a lot of processed food, artificial food, that's a lot of cooked food, then all of that denatures the nutrients and the enzymes, and then you're not able to digest your food in the optimal and most efficient way. So that stays stored in your body as fecal matter in your colon, and it just stays in your intestines for several days and even years. So that is important to bear in mind. The next thing is that, of course, if you're doing more physical activity, if you're burning more calories due to exercise, you're running a lot, you're bumping up your weight training, and you're taking care of your nutrition, taking a look at how much you're eating, what you're eating, that also plays like an intrinsic part towards weight loss or weight gain if you want to build muscle or you need to put on more weight. So this is where calories constantly comes into play. The next thing is, and again, it's not just about calories. We don't want to just look at calories, because the idea is not to live off of Oreos within a certain amount a day per day, but about quality of nutrients, but using the calories as a framework to understand all about your energy movement from day to day. The next thing that's really helped me when I noticed a change in my body is when I started doing food combining. I've talked about this lightly in some of my other videos, but basically there are, according to some doctors and research over the years, certain foods go well with each other and certain others are not properly digested. So they impair digestion, they delay it, as well as assimilation and absorption of nutrients. And this also can cause weight gain because your food is not being properly digested and eliminated. It's not being physically eliminated through the colon, and that remains in your body. And then whatever is not there can either accumulate and create disease or added fat or just added mass that's kept inside. So what is food combining? Well, that's a whole other video, but if you look it up and research it, the idea is that carbohydrates do not digest good or well with proteins. So carbs and proteins do not go well. Contrary to what so many of our cultures do, what we're used to doing, this means that bread and meat don't go ideally well, that pasta and seafood will not digest ideally well because proteins are digested with different enzymes and by different pathways in the body. Different enzymes digest them. Proteins remain in the stomach to be digested by the gastric juice, and then they're released when they're fully just treated with the chemicals and gastric acids, and then they're passed into the intestines. Whereas carbs are digested by different enzymes and they will be processed much faster than proteins, and digestion of the carbs starts in the mouth with the salivary glands, and then they go past the stomach and they're further made into juice, and then they go into the intestines where nutrient absorption happens, and then the large intestine where the water is absorbed, and then the fiber is there, which carbs are the only foods that have fiber, unless they've been modified genetically, and that's a whole other thing. But then they remain there, and that's when they're eliminated. So bear that in mind. Fats also, they're digested in the stomach. They take much longer to digest, and ideally they're eaten only with leafy green vegetables. And fruits are the fastest digesting, so ideally we have them by themselves in the morning, or if that's all you're having in the day, then just having them by themselves. So this is an overview of food combining. When I started doing this, implementing it into my life, into my daily nutrition regime, I noticed that I had significant improvement in my digestion, but also I trimmed down. So that was the outcome of that process. So if you're interested, you can apply that to yourself. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me about that. The next thing that I'll mention is when I became vegan. When I became vegan, I also noticed an immediate shift. I lost some weight, and that happened about a year ago. And not just that, but I had a whole host of other benefits, including my body became more flexible. I was able to do more complicated yoga poses within a few days without me even having practiced them over a long time. My body has just become more flexible and has reduced, it has no inflammation now, thanks to God, because of the natural foods that I've been focusing on. So when I became vegan, I eliminated all the dairy, which I had already begun doing in the year past. But I just eliminated all the protein that I was having, all the egg whites that I was having. I was having loads of protein. It was the complete opposite of how I eat now, actually. And so I noticed that significant change. So perhaps that it resonates with you on some level. Not to become vegan because of the philosophical aspect of it, or because of the ethical reasons, or the fact that it's better for the environment and it reduces waste in the universe, but just by virtue of the health that we want to fully enjoy. My health has skyrocketed, and it's cascaded into creating even more beneficial changes in my life and in my system and my mindset. So it's educated me so very well, and I continue to evolve from that basis. So I'm really thankful that I shifted to vegan nutrition and approach to eating. And the reason why one can say that it worked is, and I started having more carbs after that. So I just bumped up my carbs by having rice and potatoes and beans, and at that time I was having tofu as a protein alternative, but I no longer have any soy products. So it's about a process and a journey. So, and the reason that I feel that happened is because I realized the protein was not easy to digest in me, and it actually created allergic reactions, which I ignored. So when I would have egg whites, I noticed that I would start to sort of sniffle, and so that was just one example. But also when I would have like white fish, I never had anything fried, but I would have protein, and a substantial amount of it, approximately 120 grams a day. I wanted to make it like 40% of my intake on a daily basis because it was building muscle. And actually, I don't feel that it really succeeded to that end, even though I was lifting more back then. But it depends on every person. But I've done high protein for many years, and somehow being more self-empowered and being in better control of my behaviors and my eating habits eluded me when I was having so much high protein and protein powders. And you know, we have to go through our own experience to learn by our own knowledge from experience. That will be the most powerful catalyst for you to continue making changes in a positive direction, or to change gears and move yourself in a new direction. So those were some of the things. And then ultimately the final tip I'll share is colon cleansing. If you go for a colon cleansing at a professional colon hydrotherapy center, they will clean out your bowels, and that will guarantee to reduce your weight immediately, because you're eliminating a lot of the compacted fecal matter that has been built up over time. So that is not something you would repeat frequently, but as a boost in your system to clean yourself out and to start making positive changes in your nutrition, maybe implementing a new kind of nutrition regime, if we want to call it diet, but it's not with the intention of depriving yourself, but shifting gears and moving yourself in a new direction towards the light, towards your light, not towards this universal light that is said by X person to be the light, but what resonates with what you want your lightness and light life and light being to be. So those are my tips. I hope that they help and that they inspire and empower and benefit you. That's all I want, is to bring added benefit to the universe, and so it is. So thanks for joining, and if you have any questions, let me know, and I'm happy to make a new video in the future following up on your questions. So please send me your questions, let me know what's going on with you, and if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, then I invite you to please like and subscribe for this kind of content, which is not just about weight and health, but it's about living life holistically towards the light, or in the light, which is the intention and the idea. So sending you lots of love. Have a beautiful continuation, and see you soon. Goodbye.